Welcome back. Now, controversial social media app TikTok came under fire this week in the Senate, which is probing foreign interference of Australian discourse through these apps. Now, Senator James Paterson has been brilliant on this issue, and when he had a cohort of TikTok executives firmly in the crosshairs, he did not miss. Now, TikTok has repeatedly denied that it's possible for the Chinese Communist Party to access Australian data, but in this interrogation, a technical executive admits Chinese employees handle the data of millions of Australians every single day. There is a law in China that forces Chinese citizens to hand over any data at once, and those laws have strict confidentiality clauses, so TikTok bosses might not even know it. Have a listen to these revelations.
So are you able to disclose how often Australian user data has been accessed by employees in China then?
So as you know, there's millions of Australian users on the platform interacting with the platform every day, and we offer 24/7 support. Again, all of those access go through that principle of least privilege and requires robust approvals.
Yes, but you said it's logged, so presumably you're able to tell me then how often Australian user data has been accessed by mainland China employees.
Again, it's something that would happen based on the use case.
That's not my question, Mr. Farrell. You can't on the one hand say we've got these really robust processes and we track and log everything and then also not be able to tell me how often it's been accessed. They both can't be true. Either you can't tell me because you don't know, or you do know and you're refusing to tell me. How often has Australian user data been accessed by mainland China employees?
I don't have specific numbers in front of me. I'd be happy to take that on notice.
Bravo, James Paterson. He did not miss a beat. That is what happens when a politician does their homework and fails to fall for the spin. His interrogation soon became national news, with media organisations finally starting to realise just how dangerous this spy app really is. The Guardian wrote, TikTok executive admits Australian users' data accessed by employees in China. And the ABC, the news lines were equally as damning to TikTok. TikTok executives frustrate parliamentary inquiry with a reluctance to acknowledge basic facts. A senior TikTok executive has been rebuked by parliamentary inquiry for saying she does not know the location of the tech giant's headquarters. And while we were happy to see these outlets finally starting to produce critical reporting on TikTok, both of these organisations have large TikTok channels. They feed into the ecosystem and generate content which enriches TikTok by attracting an audience. Neither the ABC or The Guardian published anything about the Senate inquiry on TikTok. They completely ignored the issue on the very platform they should be publishing this news on. Truly appalling and pathetic stuff. Instead of doing a video on TikTok's security flaws, The Guardian generated this garbage content.
So here's the Australian Prime Minister and his UK counterpart, Rishi Sunak, having a grand old laugh. But where are they? Oh, just the most hilarious of locations, the NATO summit.
Also at the inquiry was this wild moment where the Australian boss, Lee Hunter, admitted TikTok had spied on an American journalist after denying it publicly had ever happened. But he refused to characterise it as spying, arguing the employees were just rogue and therefore it was not TikTok's fault.
You've just described very robust, apparently robust policies and procedures to stop illegitimate access to user data. How then was it the case that TikTok inappropriately spied on journalists and attempted to identify their sources through the app?
Senator, I can take this question. And first, I would dispute the characterisation that we spied on journalists. To go into some detail around what happened there, this has been well canvassed in the media. I'm happy to go through it in detail again. And after I've explained a little bit of detail, I'll defer to Mr. Farrell for some of the data protections we have in place to ensure this can't happen again. Firstly, what you speak about is serious misconduct by rogue employees. This is not what the company stands for. These employees were seeking to isolate the source of leaked confidential company information. They were unsuccessful in that effort. But we're aware that with this serious misconduct from these rogue employees, serious changes need to happen in the business.
So this joke of an executive lied to the Australian people in an op-ed in October last year. The fact is, Contrary to the article that Senator Patterson relied on, TikTok has never been used to target any members of the US government, activists, public figures, or journalists, nor do we serve them a different content experience than other users. Well, that was false, and Hunter spread that misinformation, denying that his company had spied on a US journalist while these allegations were public. It shows absolute contempt for truth and the Australian people and our political system as he targeted a sitting senator with his fake news. And Patterson wasn't having any of it.
Sure, Mr. Hunter, but you say you stand by it, but in that op-ed you denied that this had happened. You said it hadn't happened, and you also said it couldn't happen because of the nature of the data that was or wasn't collected by the app. That was wrong. Have you ever sought to publicly correct the record about those false claims that you made?
Senator, again, I stand by the sentiments that were expressed in that op-ed, and I would not categorise the efforts as spying. In Australia, we do not even track GPS data. There are a number of issues.
Well, we'll come to that as well. But you have, in that op-ed, you denied that this had happened. How can you stand by that? That was wrong, wasn't it?
Senator, the op-ed came out in October, and the Forbes article you mentioned came out in December. So
indeed, and so we had one allegation that was already in the media, which you were denying, which was non-specific in nature, that Emily Baker-White from Forbes wrote, saying that individuals in the US had been tracked. You denied that that had happened. You said it wasn't technically possible, and then in December, your company admitted that in fact it had happened, that it was possible, and that people had been fired from your company as a result. You've made a false claim on the public record about your own app. Why should we rely on anything you say to the committee today when we can't rely on what you previously said?
And of course, he didn't really answer that question. He just rambled and repeated the same old talking points. The fact that TikTok behaved like this at a Senate inquiry should absolutely anger you. Their answers were vague, defensive and evasive, and well done to James Patterson for prosecuting his argument so professionally. We need more politicians like that. But shame on the journalists who use TikTok for cheap views but failed to use the platform to cover the biggest TikTok story of the week.